What's going on, guys? So, 9 times out of 10, when you're having an issue with your dirt bike where you're either getting a no start condition or your bike is bogging or it won't idle, is usually the carburetor. Now, what happens, especially these days with the ethanol and the fuel, is these things need to be cleaned quite a bit. So, we're going to go over how to do a simple clean on a carburetor. Ours is out of a KLX 110 here, so this is a very simple and small carburetor. And we're going to go over what everything in the bottom of the carburetor here that we're cleaning does for you and what you may need to clean if you're having a certain condition. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I've got my carburetor up on the bench here. Now, if you have never done this before, I'm going to try and give a quick crash course on how to clean a carburetor and why it's important. So first thing we're going to go over here is this is the carburetor. The carburetor takes fuel and atomizes it to put it into your engine. This is the part that gives the engine fuel. Now, the bottom here is called the float bowl, and this is where the fuel sits. Now, this is the part that you always have to clean because, especially in today, with the ethanol in the fuel, this is the part that gets gummed up. Now, there are always Phillips head screws on the bottom here, so we're going to use a Phillips head screwdriver to take those off. Other tools that I'm going to be using is a flathead, a couple picks. So if you have a pick lying around, you're going to need those. And having carb cleaner on hand is always great. So let's take this apart and see how bad of an example we got. Now, something to keep in mind is that these on the bottom are notorious for stripping. So when you are grabbing a Phillips head to take these off, make sure you are grabbing one that fits really well. Give it a test and make sure that when you twist, it doesn't want to back out like this way. So when you give it a twist, you don't want it to force itself out. Another thing to keep in mind when you are doing this is you want to be pushing inwards into the head of it twice as hard as you are twisting. This is a good way to ensure that you're not going to strip. Now this one I got pretty easily, so that was nice. We're going to go ahead and take that out. I'm going to throw it in my magnetic bowl over here. Now the second one, I can see that someone has already partially stripped it. So I'm going to do my best to try and get in there and take that one off. I'm actually going to strip or move on to a bigger screwdriver to help me with this. Oh, all right, we got that one too. Yep, just as long as you are pushing into the head twice as hard as you are rotating, then you have a better chance at not stripping that out. Once the two of those are removed, be careful because this is now loose. If you just took this off your bike, you're likely going to have some excess fuel in here, so be prepared for that to leak. I did not just take this out of the bike, so we are fine. Now, the inside of this is looking pretty darn clean, but let's go over what we're looking at here. So this part and the bottom is probably going to have some gunk in it if you are cleaning it. If not, you can see mine's pretty clean. Maybe we have a little bit up here by my finger, but I will take care of that and then we will call that good. Now, this right here is your float. This is the system that keeps the gas from overflowing. So if you're having an issue where you turn your gas on and your bike is just dumping gas out the bottom of the carburetor, that's because this is not doing its job. Now, this piece right here, the carb is usually in this position. As the gas fills up, it physically comes up. And when it does that, this needle that you can see right here, and we'll go ahead and take this apart. This pin should just slide right out. You might need to use your pick if it's a little stuck. And we're going to go ahead and lift this out. And you can see, I'm being careful with it here. On the bottom of this is this little needle. It's not really a needle, but that's what it's called. And it has this little rubber point at the end. Now that rubber point can wear out, so this is a wear and tear item. So you may need to replace it. Or, more likely, oftentimes what is happening is it's just not making a good seal. And that's not necessarily because it needs to be replaced. That can happen when you get a tiny little piece of debris caught in here. So, first thing we're going to do, now that we have taken that float out, is we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our carb cleaner. And I'm going to try not to make a big mess while doing this, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to give this a squirt in here, just like that. And you can see it came out the right side here. This is where your fuel comes in. So fuel will come in here and go down through here. and that is how it enters the carburetor bowl. So we're just going to squirt that a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and also squirt it in the opposite direction so that it comes out like so. And that should be clean. Visual inspection, and it looks okay. Now, next two pieces we have right here. This is a very simple carburetor. We have our main jet and we have our pilot jet. Now, these jets are what the fuel will shoot through when it atomizes into the carburetor, which it then pulls through into your engine. Now, the pilot jet is what is used for when your engine is idling and you are not giving it any throttle. Your main jet is what is used when you are giving it throttle. It needs more fuel, it needs to use a different jet. So, if you are having an issue where your bike is idling great, but you give it gas and it dies, chances are your main jet is clogged. The smaller jet up here can be clogged, and your bike runs fine at RPM, but the second you let off the gas, it dies. Check this. So, these we're going to use a flathead for. And be careful with these because they are soft. And you're just gonna, they shouldn't be that tight. Just go ahead and take our pilot jet out here. And we're gonna check that one real quick. Okay. This is what the jet will look like. So what you're looking for here is this right here. There's a hole in the top, very hard to see. But if you hold it up to a light, you should be able to see through to this hole in the other side. See the light through there? That's what you want to see. Now you can see I see a nice, clean, even circle there. If you maybe saw half the light, you'd still want to clean it out, and that would just be shooting carb clean through there. Now you also have these holes on the sides. You want to be able to look through these as well. So if I hold this up, you can see the light through those perfectly. This is nice and clean. That's what you want to see. You rotate around. Now, if you had something clogged in there, you can hit it with carb clean. If it's being a little stubborn, you can take this pick very gently. You don't want to push or anything, but you can just poke the end in like so into these holes. That's going to push whatever debris is in there to the inside. So once you've pushed it in, you then want to shoot carb cleaner, or you can use air and just push it out the end, and that'll clean that out. So the other thing too is you can go ahead and you can inspect right here. You can see I can see light through there as well. That's also good. I'm going to take a quick peek with my eyeballs, and it looks pretty clean in there. Just because I'm here, I'm going to shoot it with carb clean anyway. So I'm going to go ahead now. That's all set. I'm going to put that right back in there. Now when I'm tightening this down, it does not need to be tight. I'm literally going to use 2 fingers on the screwdriver like this, and I'm just going to continue to rotate it. And then I'm feeling resistance, just taking my 2 fingers, snug with 2 fingers. That's all it needs to be. Now this piece we're going to go ahead and take off now. You can see that there's a flat head on top here. There is also a part down here we can put a really small wrench on. So if you have an issue with the flat head, this one might be tight. Nope, I got mine just fine. But if you are having an issue with the flat head, you can use a wrench on this one, which will help prevent you from stripping it. So we're going to go ahead and take this one out as well. Now this is the same deal, except this one's just going to have more holes, and you can see this is way bigger through there. So at the top here, looks like we can barely see any light. So that might be an issue for us. Now this is really small, however, I think that is clogged up. So that's going to be our issue. Now the other thing we want to look at is these side holes here. And you can see I can see through them pretty well. Looks good. Looks good. Looks good. So it looks like the only clog we have is right here. You can see I can barely look through there. When I look through this side, it looks like there's a little pinhole on the other side. Now it is supposed to be smaller than this side, but I don't think it's supposed to be that small. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to take my pick. I'm going to try and poke that out right there. And I'm going to take my carb clean. And the nice thing about these main jets is this tube will actually fit right into them, and I can shoot through the other side. Now this is also going to make a big mess. I'm going to wrap my fingers around these holes here so that it only shoots out one side, like so. And now I've got to make sure that this is dry before I look through it, or I might be looking at the liquid blocking the light, and I don't want to mistake that for a block. See, that's much better. See, you can tell it is smaller, but now it's cleaned out. So that's exactly what we want to see. And now that we just cleaned that out, we want to make sure we didn't shove that into any of these holes. No, it looks good. Everything looks good. Okay, so there was our issue with this carburetor. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put this back in. And that's easy as that. That was a fix. So yep, finger tight. Go ahead, take tool. Like I said, 2 fingers. Snugged. Alrighty. The rest of this looks okay. It's clean on the inside. I'm going to pick up this float ball real quick, and I'm going to give this attention like I said I was going to. It looks like I have the tiniest bit of stuff on the bottom here. So I'm just going to scrape it with my pick. And this is honestly no big deal. This is just while I'm here, there's no reason not to. And once I get that all scraped up with my pick, I'm once again just going to take my carb clean and blow out the bowl. Not much of a difference from what we saw before. However, I did get rid of some slightly loose stuff that could have at some point gone loose on its own and sucked itself right into our jets, completely making what we just did useless. Looks like everything is nice and clean. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take our float bowl here, or sorry, our float. We're going to go ahead and put the needle back in. Now this needle just rests in here. You can see right here there's this slot with this tab on the back. And that tab is what pushes down on it, and the slot is what it slides into. And then it just holds just like that. It's very loose. That's all by design. That's how it's supposed to be. So you want to be careful not to drop this because it is very small. But now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it and we're going to drop the needle into the little hole there. And then the float bowl itself, I'm just going to let drop and sit like that. And then we can take our pin from over here, and we're just going to slide it on back through here. And we just need to slightly pick this up so that I can get it to line up. Come on. There she goes. All lined up, and then that just sits like that. When this goes on, that pin can't go anywhere, so that's what holds that. Otherwise, it's just free floating. Now, this is a pretty simple carburetor, but most things are like this. If you're taking apart a lawnmower or another dirt bike, unless you have a bigger bike, this is exactly what your carb is going to look like. And even if you are taking apart a bigger bike, this is pretty much the same concept. You're just going to see more things. That's the basics of cleaning a carburetor. Now we're going to go ahead and put this bowl back on. Now this bowl does have a direction. You can see in this gasket here, which something if you want to do it, and I actually am because I just rubbed my finger and this feels kind of dirty. So take a nice microfiber or rag and go ahead and wipe that edge. And then I'm going to go grab a little bit of oil. I'm going to put a little bit of oil along this seal. That just helps keep this seal sealed and keep it healthy. This is my little ketchup bottle of oil. I'm just going to put a little drop along here. And I'm going to take my finger, just go around the edge. Now, if this carburetor was in much, much worse condition, something you can do as well is you can rebuild it. Now, a carb rebuild kit will normally come with the consumables or the wearables, which is this seal right here that seals this float bowl, or that float needle we talked about that sits down in there. Now they usually come with jets as well, just because jets can strip out or have issues, so they come with those as well. But really what you usually need is just that seal and just that float needle. And then the rebuild section of it is just replacing those items and putting this back together, which is super simple. Now, you can see in mine exactly where this little part of this seal sat, but just pay attention to the shape and you can see how it matches up. If I look at the flange, you can see right up at the top here, it's kind of square, and at the bottom here, it's got that more rounded area, and we can see square up here, rounded area. So every float ball is going to have this direction it sits in. That'll be the correct direction. So then we're going to go ahead and put that on, line up our holes, and then we're just going to go ahead and put these screws back in. Now I am just snugging these down. I'm not using the 2-finger method because these are a little tighter. I'd say a 3-finger method is a good idea here. And remember I said these are very strippable, so you usually don't want to snug them down too tight. If you put it back on the bike and you see fuel leaking out of the edges here, either your seal needs to be replaced or you can try tightening those a little bit more. But we're looking good. Our carb looks good. If I look through the main chamber here, it looks pretty clean. I'm not mad about any of this. The outside's always going to be dirty. But yeah, this looks like it's ready to go back on the bike.